Okay, so we were just talking about, hello everybody, we were just talking about the millennials' latest take, and that is the starter marriage. It appears, Tony, that they're valuing the opportunity to marry someone for a short amount of time and going on to find their real love.
Well, it also shows this kind of disconnect as to the definition of marriage, I think, among this younger generation of folks. And it also goes to what we've talked about in the past, too, is this kind of sense of entitlement. They want their cake and they want to eat it, too.
Right.
You know, I agree in that the institution of dating probably is a great place to start if you want to do a starter relationship. And if you have a serious girlfriend or boyfriend, I don't agree with your mother in that it's safe to live with them, or maybe not officially.
My
but
point is that this is actually a move in the right direction if you're willing to get married and make at least that commitment, because people have been living together for decades and decades, and that's more of an issue in terms of the breakdown of traditional marriage. I think that if people are willing to step up and stand in front of God and everybody else and at least make that commitment, I don't think that that is taken as lightly as some people might think. I didn't go into it thinking I was going to get divorced in 11 months, but
see, I think that's the difference. I think that there is now a culture where I hate saying millennials, but this younger generation, they do see an end to it going into it, which is drastically
because they don't honor their word anymore. Nothing is permanent, because when something gets hard, they want to be able to say, I can't handle it. It's a microaggression. It's too hard. Mommy and daddy, help. Get me out of this.
Yeah.
Because marriage is hard work, like anything. Anything worthwhile in the world is hard work. But millennials, and I don't mean to beat up on millennials, because I think there are a lot of really good millennials and great qualities about them. It's just a broader cultural trend, and social media apps have made it much easier for people to, if you don't like a photo, delete it. If you don't like a friend, defriend them. Block this person. I mean, everything is so temporary in society, and everything is so, I mean, Tinder, you can get, it's basically like Uber. You can get things delivered, like hookups delivered, you know, on demand. And it's creating a society of people that just, they don't honor values. And the values are commitment, loyalty, integrity, intimacy. Social dating apps, and I think just the coarsening of our culture has destroyed all of those things. And conservatives are supposed to be the ones who make the case of something worth conserving. Right. And that's what I try and do in my book without being political.
And I'll add, and this is a lot of personal information, but I don't care.
It's nothing new for you.
Everyone should know.
I have not cursing either. But I was dating somebody, and I was moving across the country to be with him. And I said, I'm not moving my entire life across the country to the West Coast unless I have the commitment of marriage. And another thing, I'm not even a big believer in the big ceremony and everything. I think that's a huge waste of people's money. And if you're really in a committed relationship in front of God, that you don't need all that pomp and pomp.
Pomp and pomp.
Yeah, and all that wasted money.
But I do also wonder if part of this isn't the fact that a lot of people have divorced parents and they've seen marriages not working out as well. You know, do they maybe are afraid of getting married because they don't have a lot of good examples of people who have happy marriages, and so they think, I'll give it a try and see if it works, and then if it's working, we'll renew it. I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, that we'll renew it because we know that it's working, versus getting in on the other side and realizing, oh my gosh, this is not going to work.
And I also think 2 to 3 years seems so arbitrary. I don't know if that's really the guideline of a success in marriage. What if you have kids? What if someone loses a job? What if someone gets sick? That doesn't happen all in the first 2 to 3 years. But Andrea, you wrote a whole book kind of dedicated to at least themes related to this topic. What's more likely, the idea of starter marriages taking hold in our society, or people just waiting a long
Bingo,
time
that's it.
to get married?
18% of men, they've seen an 18% drop, we've seen culturally, in men just opting out of the institution of marriage. Why? Well, they don't have to get married. Think about it. Every skill that men used to get married for, or things that they used to get married for, like companionship, intimacy, all those things they can get from an app. I mean, they can get food delivered, they can get hookups delivered with Tinder. Women make it very easy for them. So they can get their laundry delivered. So why, if you're a man, why would you really want to get married unless you want kids? So men are waiting much longer. Women are finding it harder and harder to find the right partner. I mean, you talk to women everywhere and they'll tell you that. So I just think as a society, people are waiting longer and longer. Also, women are making more money and they're more successful, so they don't feel the pressure to have to marry, to have a man to take care of them. So there's a lot of factors.
Well, and they don't want to financially take care of a man, frankly.
Absolutely. And Dagan, you hit on such a good point. We see men, I mean, they called it the man session of 2008. We saw a lot of men lose their jobs because they were at the upper echelon of their positions. And with the mortgage meltdown, they were fired. And a lot of women elevated, but also women are kicking butt. Period. I mean, they're rising to these positions everywhere. So you have this sort of swap in power. I call it the power trade in my book, and there's a whole chapter on that, where women have espoused the qualities of men, and men have sort of been forgotten and lost, and they don't really know their roles in society. And women are saying, we have all this newfound power, it's so great, but what do we do with it? I mean, they said it was going to be amazing, but there's also a lot of unintended consequences and pitfalls of this.
I can't wait to read your
And
book.
it's manifesting itself in some really, really unfortunate ways for both genders.
What's the
but
name
you're
of the
out
book?
tied up in knots.
Tied up in knots. Okay.
And so you have women literally and figuratively tying themselves up in knots, like with the rise of 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, racing out to buy these books where they are, you know, I guess asking for, you know, dominance and all these things, but they're also tied up in knots about all these other areas of their life. So I do think that waiting, my advice in the book, and I don't come at it from a point of view where I know everything, I'm just as tied up as everyone else. My perspective is it's always best to wait for the right person. Waiting for the right person, and whether that person comes at 22 or whether they come at 42 or whether they come at 62, waiting for the right person is always a good
And I'll
idea.
end with one viewer comment on the chat. Rich says, get a job first before marriage. Please stay out of your mom's basement.
That's what Judge Judy would say. That's exactly what Judge Judy
And we
would
all
say.
love her.
All right,
We all
that's
love
it for Outnumbered Overtime. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back at noon Eastern on Fox News tomorrow.